excited, Cass? So, darkness, I think we can agree, can be a terrifying thing. We start today talking about darkness. What does it mean? Where is it? Well, if any of you have ever been surrounded by darkness, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you went for a walk one night and didn't realize it was getting late as fast as it was. You got caught out. And when you got out there, you realized that there was no light. Everywhere you turned was black. Maybe darkness in your life is something that's surrounding you right now and eating at you. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe it's a family member or a friend. We get surrounded by darkness in our life. It can be suffocating. It can beat us down. We understand that darkness is void of light. We understand that darkness is full of unseen problems and challenges. Today we're going to talk about some of those. We're going to look at the darkness of life as we see it, or maybe better said, as we don't see it. We're going to start today with scripture that's not in your bulletin, and we'll get to that in a little while. But in Luke chapter 23, starting in verse 44, this is what is written. It was about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. But the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he had said this, he breathed his last. Let us pray. Dear Father, we come this morning and pray that as we look at the darkness, as we try to understand what it means to be in darkness and how to get out, that you would be with us and guide us. That, Father, your Spirit would surround us today. In the reading and the hearing of your words, your Spirit would come through. And we would know our challenge, our life, our gift to go out from here and share with others. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen. So in the darkness, we're often lost. In the darkness, we often find ourselves unable to find our way out. Why? Because in the darkness, there is no direction. In World War II, a fighter pilot in a flight back from Shangri-La in the middle of the night found himself in this darkness. As he flew out over the Pacific Ocean back to his carrier to go home, in combat conditions, there were no lights on the plane, there were no lights on the boat. He turned on his homing signal and realized he couldn't use it because a Japanese station was using the same signal, and it was going to pull him back into land away from the boat. So he had no homing signal. He turned on the map light in his cockpit to try to get an idea of where he was, and the map light shorted out all the lights in the plane. He now found himself looking down into the abyss of the ocean in darkness, flying to an unknown target, in an unknown place, in an unknown sea. He knew that if he was able to even find the boat in the darkness he was in, there was a good chance he would fly in too low and crash into the stern of the ship, going into the water, or he'd try to go too high and skip off the boat and crash on the other end. The darkness that night was deafening. There was a surrounding fear of what to do and where to go. The darkness for him in that moment gripped who he was. And yet he flew on. We as Christians, I believe, oftentimes find ourselves flying in the dark. We go about life not looking for a homing signal, not turning on our lights because we feel like we're flying in a situation that we have to be in darkness by ourselves. So we fly. We try to go from place to place without great direction. We don't pull out the map, or if we do, we don't really pay attention to it. Our eyes are blinded to the words that are written in the scriptures for us. But why? Why do we fly in the dark? You see, if we fly in the dark, we come to understand this proverb. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. And see, as Christians, when we're flying in the dark, when we're living in this time of not looking to the directions we have been given, we find ourselves stumbling. When we talk about being in the darkness, you know I'm a hunter. And any of you here that have been in the woods, whether hunting or just hiking, know that if you go into the woods in the wee hours of the morning or coming out of the woods in the early hours of night, you find yourself stumbling and tripping and falling. See, it doesn't matter how good your night vision is. When you're going through the woods in the dark, you trip on everything that's there. You ask Noah and Mallory when they go archery hunting with me, we stay in until it's after dark. And one of the things that they always complain about on the way out are the branches and the vines that hit them in the face when they're trying to walk out of the woods. And they've said to me before, Dad, those weren't there when we walked in. And I said, no, we could just see them when we walked in. See, the darkness in our life is often like that. It jumps up and we never see it coming. And then it hits us. Sometimes it knocks us back, sometimes it knocks us down. But oftentimes when we're in the darkness, there's a part of it that is alluring, that calls us into it. We have a family of owls that live behind our house. One's a barn owl, and there's some screech owls. And I found myself at night when I hear them walking out into the dark woods to try to find them. There's something there that I want to seek. Something there that I want to be a part of. We look to the wisdom of Yoda in the darkness. He says, when you look at the dark side, careful you must be, for the dark side looks back. See, when we look into the darkness of life, oftentimes we have to be careful because it looks back at us. And the darkness calls to us. The darkness calls to us in many, many different ways. It calls to us in terms of addiction. There are those that are afflicted with addiction to many different things. Drugs, alcohol, television, other people, cars, homes, money. It calls to us. And when you find yourself in an addiction, and I'd be willing to bet that every person here today has one, some we classify in society as major problems, some in society we've kind of brushed over, but yet there are things that pull us away from God. There are things that pull us into the darkness of life, of sin, of time abandoned from God. We're pulled into that darkness. We look at our life and we try to describe what it means to be in the darkness. And when we found ourselves in those places, we're called back to it over and over and over again. I've talked to a friend of mine that's a recovering alcoholic. I worked with him for years. And he looked at me one day as we were out for business. He said, I would love to go down and have just one drink with the guys. But I know if I have that one, then I'll have two. And then I'll have 10. And then I'll be right back where I was. Because that is always calling to me to go there. If any of you have tried to quit smoking, smokers will tell you the same thing. I can't ever just have one more cigarette. Because one more leads to 10 more, to 20 more, to back to where I was. See, that's what the darkness does to us. It pulls us in. And darkness in the Bible is sin, Satan, death. That encompassing thing that wraps us up and pulls us down. So what does sin look like? What does a world of darkness bring to us? Darkness means death. Darkness means greed. Darkness means destruction, abuse, fighting, hate, anger, envy. Darkness is all of these things. See, darkness is something that pulls us into it. And if any of you have been out in the woods at night, I was a really good Boy Scout and got lost in the woods one night with our troop. And one thing we realized quickly is that the farther we went, the farther we got away from where we were going. And we thought we were going the right direction, but in the dark it just kept pulling us around. And after a while somebody said, I think we've been here. And we started marking where we were, and we realized that when we were so far into the darkness that we kept going back to the same place because we couldn't see a way out. Friends, this is what the darkness does to us. It pulls us in. And the farther we get into it, the harder it is to see back out. So what do we do? Darkness seems hopeless. And if we're here today listening to this, thinking about the different things that darkness is, we can all sit back and say, why try? Darkness is a hopeless place to be. Darkness is long-suffering, and we can't get out of it, but it is not. Our scripture today in John, it says this: when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Friends, darkness can be conquered. Darkness can be beaten, because darkness cannot beat light. That night we were out in the woods with the scouts. What finally found us was a dusted dawn light in a cabin in the woods. In the middle of that dark mountain, we found light. And when we followed light, we found salvation for the evening. Friends, the darkness we're surrounded in is deafening if we never look for light. If we continue to focus inward and look at the challenges and the problems, we cannot beat them. I'm here to tell you today, if you're lost in the dark and the mountains with no lights, it is a very long, if not impossible, walk back to safety. But light, just a small flashlight, it's amazing what that does for you in your confidence, in your safety, and your ability to move forward from that point. See, Jesus came to the disciples and he says today, our lesson, as the third I am of Jesus, I am the light of the world. If you walk in the light, you will never suffer in the darkness. Rather, meaning, if we are filled with Jesus Christ, if we come to understand him as salvation, if we surround ourselves with him in us, with him around us, we don't have to walk in the darkness. Jesus is our ability to conquer sin. Jesus is our ability to defeat addiction. Jesus is our ability to conquer the challenges of life that often trip us and knock us down. Jesus walking around us helps us see those branches that hit us in the face when we can't see. And with the light of the world around us, we can move and we can miss them. Jesus lights our path. In the Psalms he says, "A light unto my feet." Jesus is there to illumine our path so we don't trip and stumble and fall down. And if you do, he'll pick you up. He's light to help you see the next step, the next place. Friends, we can be surrounded in darkness and we can live that way. We can allow ourselves to be beat down, pushed down, surrounded, and cave into the pressures of the world around us. Or we can turn to light. I'm willing to bet that any of you here, even if you lived in your house for 50 years, if you try to get up and go to the bathroom with no lights on your house, you're going to stub your toe on a wall somewhere, right? Or we get up, even a small night light in the bathroom, all of a sudden we have a clear path to where we're going. Friends, Jesus Christ is the light of the world. We talked about that pilot at the beginning. I won't leave you hanging on a story. So that night, as the pilot left and flew over the Pacific Ocean, he seemed to be completely lost in despair. But when the lights all went out in his cockpit, as he took a deep breath, as he thought about ways to get out, he looked down. And when he looked down into the ocean, he saw a glowing pathway to the ship. That glow were the plankton that were stirred up by the propellers of the aircraft carrier. And when they floated to the surface in the moonlight, they reflected a glowing green runway to the boat. And he said, I realized all I had to do was look to the light, and it would lead me home. And he flew that night, and as he got closer to the boat, the plankton got brighter and brighter and brighter. So he said when he got to the boat, it was so bright that he could judge exactly where the deck was, and he landed his plane. That pilot was Jim Covell. He happened to also be the pilot on Apollo 13 that landed the ship back in the ocean on that fateful mission. He would be the one that phrased as saying, Houston, we have a problem. When they interviewed Jim Covell about his Apollo mission, he talked about this story. In Jim's life, as he talked about it, he was a Christian. And he believed that God was always present in all situations. Now in that story, he didn't specifically reference God, but he said, if you look around you, what events are to transpire will always get you home. See, friends, we believe, as we look at life, as Christians, we have to understand that there's always light. We're going to have those days that, just like that pilot, all the light we thought we had keeps getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. But if we calm ourselves and we look, if we allow ourselves to look out ahead of us instead of just looking at our own abilities, will see the light of life in God leading us home. What a miracle. I can't imagine how he felt when he finally looked down and saw that glowing pathway home. He said, I've been out in those woods. There's not much better of a feeling when you finally look up and you see a light somewhere. Or in Colorado, the signal, if nobody's back in the truck, is to blow a horn, and that's a really reassuring sound when you're walking and you hear the horn blow and it's in front of you. Friends, Jesus Christ is that light. When we come today, as we look at all of the things that we have to understand, as we look at all of the things that Jesus is to us in our life, we have to understand that He's leading us home. We come to know that in our lives, Jesus Christ is always with us, always guiding us, always leading us, always showing us the pathway home. And of course, home is salvation. It's eternal life in Jesus Christ. So friends, this season, as you are preparing your hearts, we talked about Jesus as the vine, that rooted structure that we grow off of and produce fruit. We talked about Jesus as the bread of life, feeding us, our souls, nurturing us, giving us the nutrition we need. Today we talk about Jesus being the light of the world. Friends, today if you're here and you know Jesus, you know what this light is, you've seen it, you've looked out, you've looked up, you've looked around. You've conquered because you allowed Him to conquer for you. If you don't know Jesus yet, I would encourage you to pray with us today. To find somebody here, that you would see the light in your life. That no matter what you're facing, no matter what challenge has you down today, no matter what sin has you wrapped up and is strangling you, that you would see that light. And it would help you to look forward and upward to Jesus Christ. Friends, let's pray. Dear Father, we come to you today and pray that you be with us and guide us, that you will take care of us, that you will help us to know you. That, Father, in the world that we are in, we are often surrounded with all of the challenges that we face. Today, Father, we know that you're the light, and that darkness is always conquered in your will. Father, we pray today that you will help us to see that light in our lives, and that, Lord, the darkness around us will be broken. That, Father, today we would know you, and we would know you fully. We pray these things today in your name, Lord. Amen. If you would please join with us our closing hymn today, number 466, What a Friend We Have in Jesus.